Hey everyone, this is Nitro. So in this video I'm going to go over a few more of the more interesting Apex Arena matches, and these ones were also from last week, which was March 28th. I wanted to actually do this video last week, but I got really busy with some other stuff, so unfortunately I haven't had time to do this video until this week. I've had quite a few more battles in this week, in fact. You can see very quickly scrolling up. It's silly, but I'm currently at 1752 points, in large part because last week, after I went offline, for whatever reason, I don't know, I was super tired, but I decided to play a few more matches on my tablet. And I lost every single match I played on my tablet. So, all the work that I did last week in getting up to, I think, like 1760, 1770 points or whatever, was dropped as I lost 6 matches in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So none of those matches were even interesting, really. I wrote that some of them were interesting, but they really actually weren't. In hindsight, a lot of them were literally just me, like, I don't know, sending my Elwyn forward to try to one-shot the enemy Landius, failing to do so, and then losing my Elwyn, and I lose the match. Although there were a few that I suppose that maybe Rainforce showed up and beat me. Oh yeah, this one, Rainforce showed up and beat me, which was a surprise to me. I'm just not familiar with Rainforce at all. So, in any case though, I'm going to mostly skip, I think, the losses here, the 6 in a row, because I don't know what I was thinking, frankly put. A lesson for me to not play Apex Arena when I'm tired and about to go to bed. Long story short. So instead, I'll go over the 4 matches that I haven't covered after the match against Kazin in this video. And the first one is actually a loss to Pierre, of all things. This battle, my opponent ran a very, very off-meta box. So, here we go. So I'm going to pause it as soon as the thing begins. Because if we take a look here, he totally is running a very low-cost, off-meta box, right? In terms of SR heroes, he has a ridiculous number of them, right? Farakia, Seiya, Iris, Liffany, Silver Wolf, Chloe, and Freya, right? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 SRs, and even 1 rare, right? So, in other words, in terms of SSRs, he only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 SSRs, 7 SRs, and 1 rare. And yet, he was able to beat me. It shows, like, kind of embarrassing, but it happens, you know? By comparison, my box is 14 SSRs and 1 SR, which is Iris. And Iris is just a great healer, so she is absolutely going to be used, in my opinion. So in any case, though, let's begin with the pick ban. So I took a look at his box, and I saw that there was only 1 tank, so I just got rid of it. Juggler. Right? And my opponent bans my Listel and plays Luna to start. Right? So for now, I chose to ban healers. To be honest, I'm not sure my pick ban was correct in this fight. That's probably one of the causes of the loss, in truth. But regardless, we'll go over it. You know, I went for a very traditional kind of pick ban method, right? Get rid of healers, get rid of tanks, you know, that kind of stuff. So, and I play Landius to start. I now lose Leonhard and Luna, and my opponent gets to play his Zerida. You know, that is exactly why I felt maybe banning both healers was a bad idea. He has 3 healers. B, getting rid of Zerida probably would have helped me a lot more than getting rid of those 2 healers initially. Regardless, we'll continue. So I now ban Cherie and Chloe, the last healer. And then I play my Zerida. Okay. Opponent bans my Liana and Shafaniel and plays Silver Wolf. So I ban Diharto and Freya, right, the last tank, as well as a potential high mobility assassin, and I chose to play Bozo. So he now bans Yulia and Wilder, right? Plays Pierre. I banned Seiya and Leonhard. I just wasn't sure what to ban at that point. I mean, and so I play my first healer. In this case, it was Iris. And finally, my opponent bans Juggler and Elwyn. You know, they play Ferrokia, and I play my Omega. Right? So I felt that, you know, I had a tank, I had a healer, I had 3 damage dealers that were Dark Faction. You know, this should not be a loss. But it turned out to be one. So let's see what happens, right? So initial turn is just moving up a bit. I chose a bit of probably a weird, too much of a weird skill set. I actually brought a summon, a faction buff, and sleep instead of bringing an AoE attack. That's probably one of the causes in truth of this loss, looking at it now. My thought was just that Omega and Zerda can one-shot everything, so I just need maybe characters to help provide blocking against the enemy as they maneuver forward to attack me, right? That was my thought, right? Use the Necromancer to draw out, to force the enemy to be unable to use their ignore guard skills on my characters that I need to keep alive. That was the logic behind that anyways. I don't think it worked out very well. Earthquake would have been a much better choice. In any case though, so we see here that my opponent activates Wind God Realm with Luna to start, allowing Pierre to charge forward, you know, move up some more, and launch the Chain Hook on my Landius. And this is where I find out that he's using Pierre with, what's it called? Divine Boots, I think, that allows you to move back 2 tiles after you attack. And the faction buff of Zerda actually buffed up 4 of his 5 characters as well, right? Silver Wolf, Pierre, Ferrokia, and Zerda all benefited. So he actually ended up with a very meteor-based, you know, a meteor faction party. So, and on my side, I just activate Bloodthirster for now. My thought was to have Zerda constantly kill off enemies, right? Bloodthirster kill, retreats, you know, and then Omega can one-shot targets, and then Bozo was here to provide the faction buff and maybe sleep an enemy, that kind of stuff. So, in any case though, they start with Ferrokia using Maneuver to shift my Landius even further forward. And the second attack of Ferrokia just instantly wiped out my Zerda. So I misplaced my Zerda right there. Right? And the reason that all worked was because, once again, Luna's Wind God Realm. So my mispositioning already cost me massively. Okay. So I have Omega wipe out the enemy Ferrokia. And the battle continues. Pierre attacks with Plunder, moves forward a bit. And I start shifting my Landius back. But Wind God Realm, once again, Bozo dies because of Zerda. The Wind God Realm is completely messing me over. So now I try to regroup and I teleport my Landius back. Here, the goal of that was, I actually thought that I could do some damage, like even just a tiny bit of damage, to break Zerda's last rites, so that I can kill her on my turn, right? That was my goal there. But it did no damage at all. Because if Zerda's able to one-shot, it seems if Zerda's able to kill the enemy with 10 of her strikes, assassins, this is what assassins do. If they can kill the enemy with 10 strikes, they get to attack first. Only when they can't kill the enemy with 10 strikes does everyone else get engaged at that point. So I completely forgot about that mechanic, and as a result I suicided my Necromancer for no reason, which really left me also vulnerable to turn manipulation, and I'm going to struggle to kill this Zerda now since it's at full hit points. Continuing on, I do what I can, start off with Omega one-shotting the enemy Luna. And this was my other fatal mistake. Something I just learned there, in fact. I had no idea that when after Omega's attack and he teleports back, that's considered ending your turn, if you will, in Poison Fog. So that got my Omega kill for nothing, and that was the losing maneuver. Okay. If I had known that was the case, what I would have done was absolutely, I would have moved Omega up, used his skill, which was I think the same skill that Silver Wolf has, Cold Blood, and then attack and then retreat, right? So I really didn't expect that, and as a result, lost my Omega for no good reason. And at this point, it's 3 against 2. I have no real way of winning this, but I thought I might be able to survive the 12 turns. So I continue the battle, right? Trying to have Omega or Landius kill off the enemy Silver Wolf to make it 2v2. So that second attack got it to work, and Landius wipes out the enemy Silver Wolf. And I have Iris attack Pierre to weaken him. That was my fault, anyways. The problem there is I didn't. This is news to me as well. I learned a lot of things in this battle, actually. Pierre's talent is that during water battles, his attack and defense are both increased by 15%. And also, as long as he ends his turn in water, he heals 40%. So that also explains why he brought the Divine Boots on this Pierre. Because that way he can also always retreat into water to heal up. Let's move on. So for now, I'm just maneuvering around, trying to keep my characters alive, waiting for the map to get smaller. It's 2v2. So now, activate Tranquility on Landius. Right. And what I've been trying to do in this situation was be careful about Pierre's ability to chain hook my Iris. So that's also the other reason why I hovered so far back. I'm trying to keep Iris safe from chain hook. So I'm just slowly shifting forward, one tile at a time. My opponent keeps using his Pierre to attack my Landius and retreat. And here, my opponent uses the chain hook to pull my Landius forward. But I just have Iris charge forward, and I leisure than the Iris herself because I was expecting this attack from Zerda. So, with the leisure than the Iris providing with leisure than the Iris providing Iris with 20% reduced damage taken and plus 20% damage dealt, she survived that attack. But I made another fatal mistake here, and that was not having Iris heal up right here. So, because I didn't have Iris heal up, Pierre uses Tidal Surge, and then uses Plunder to ignore guard and finish off my Iris. And that was the maneuver that won him this fight. I tried to have my Landius attack Zerda. I actually left this Zerda with 311 hit points. So this is hindsight, but maybe I should have teleported, maybe I should have used Lejeune the Iris on my Landius. There, right? If I did, he would have had plus 20% additional damage and could have one-shotted this Zerda. Then it would have been Landius against Pierre, which may have won me the fight too. So, but at this point, nothing I can do, right? 2 against 1. I have my Landius finish off this Zerda, but he is so weakened at this point that Pierre is able to easily finish off my Landius and win him the match. So Langston pulls off a win against me because I made a lot of mistakes. You know, without doubt, I made a lot of mistakes. But it was a very interesting match that I felt absolutely should be gone over, because it just shows that if you don't understand a lot of the characters, even in the game, you can lose the match like I did here. So there was, in some ways, embarrassing loss to Pierre, but it was quite a learning experience actually. So let's move on to the next match, which is a much more traditional match against Kid 403. So here, right, both sides have fairly traditional parties. The only real difference between us is that, you know, I have Wyler, he has, I don't know, Joshua and Claret. I have Omega. You know, there were very minor differences. Both of us are running mostly meta boxes overall, right? I think those are really the only two differences. He has Joshua and Claret in his party. I have Omega and Wyler. I think that is literally the difference. So let's quickly go through this. You know, he bans my Listel, I ban his Liana to start because I saw that he only had 3 healers, right? 1, 2, 3. I pick Landius to start, and my opponent banned Zerda and Luna. So 3 of my attackers have already been banned. 3 precious attackers. And he plays Juggler, and so I ban Iris and Tierras. He now has no healers. And I play Bozel to start. He now bans my Omega and Shafaniel, so he's going after all my attackers one by one. You know. And I ban... and he picks Luna. So there is now the Luna Juggler combo in that Luna has a faction buff and can Raging Thunder. So I just ban the Zerda and Listel now, you know, and play Elwyn. I lose Yulia and Leonhard, and he picks Yulia. So I ban Rachel and Elwyn and play Juggler. 2 tanks because I was worried about Yulia. So I now lose 2 healers, Tierras and Iris, leaving me just 2 healers left. Enemy plays Claret. I choose to ban the Bozel and Joshua now. And thinking about it, I think I choose to bring Liana, right? Act again. On the other side, my opponent ends up bringing Leonhard over Landius, right? So clearly he's going for a faction buff on Juggler, and then, you know, attacks from these 2 Origins of Light characters. Maybe he'll bring a faction buff on Luna to buff up Yulia and Claret. So let's take a look. I think he does choose to bring the faction buff on Luna. Yep. So Wind God Realm, move again, Quintessential. Right. So Yulia is buffed, and then Juggler has faction buff, Triton, and B-Shock. No, not bringing his Great Dragon Barrier skill. So on my side, I decided to play very defensive. I don't know if that was a good idea, but I chose to bring Great Dragon Barrier, Master of Ice, and Triton on Juggler. Landius brought faction buff, Tranquility, and Indomitable as always. Elwyn has Sword Soul, Frontal Assault, Eternal Light, and I actually brought Dragoons on him. Not quite sure what was the reason for Dragoons. Oh, I think I know why. The reason I brought Dragoons was because I normally bring Masked Maids on Elwyn. However, I knew that Yulia has Unicorns, which is Cavalry. So to deal with Yulia, I felt that I needed a non-infantry soldier, and thus I chose Dragoons. I don't know. Bozel has 2 AoEs and Sleep, and finally Liana has Act Again, Gospel, and Prayer. So here we go. So, pushing up initially. Buffing up, the usual. Both sides activate Freeze with their attacker. And I have my Juggler activate the guard skill a little bit further back. So now he Sends Leonhard forward, and I use Gospel on my juggler. And he also activates the Wind God Realm skill, so that Leonhard can move forward and attack. So there's the Ethereal Fire Machete. Actually stuns my Liana, which was frustrating. Moves up, and then uses Fusion Dark Emperor Sword to do some more AoE damage. Juggler heals quite a bit of that. Now, I just activate Tranquility. There's no reason for me to really push in, so I don't. So here, Landius tanks the hit from Claret. Right, she gets to act again for a second strike. And kills off my Landius for the first time. I just use Bozal to wipe out Claret for now. And because he used his Wind God Realm, he couldn't exactly attack my Landius, so my Liana's stun action got to heal up Landius a bit. In the meantime, I have Elwyn use Frontal Assault on this Leonhard to weaken it. I was hoping for the kill, but Elwyn is Lancer against an infantry Leonhard, wasn't quite enough damage, left Leonhard with 2275. So Luna now gets to charge in, and I think Landius dies as a result. For now, so to counter that, I use Juggler's Master of Ice to hit them all with some AoE damage, which also affected Yulia. Right? So, and then because Yulia had hit points reduced, she killed herself. She didn't get to revive as a result. So that Master of Ice here was quite clutch in taking down the enemy Yulia as a result. Of course, Juggler activating the Thorns effect also helped do extra damage to Yulia to make sure she died. So, combination of luck aspects there that Yulia died. She may not have died. Actually, she definitely would not have died if she had chosen to use, let's say, her other attack skill, right? What's it called? The one that does fixed damage before combat and healing? Can't remember the name of it. Regardless, although it did remove all my buffs on Juggler. So, pros and cons to what my opponent did. In any case, though, here, I now choose to put Luna to sleep. That knocks her out for 2 turns, basically. And my Juggler gets Beast Shocked and killed by the enemy Juggler. I fully expected that because I didn't feel that Juggler could live. That's why I chose to take that action instead. Right? Because I knew that this Juggler had Faction Buff and Triton up, so I was expecting the Beast Shock to come. So at this point, Juggler attacks. But because Juggler has so few strikes, it only takes out Bozal's soldiers. So I have Elwyn finish off the enemy Luna, right? Heal up my Bozal, and at this point my opponent runs away. So overall, very interesting battle I felt. Of at least one method to deal with Yulia, right? Using the AoE attack Master of Ice on Juggler to weaken. So that was the second battle. The third battle is actually a win against Kurama. This one was actually very, very interesting as well. Let's just jump in and take a look. Because I was very surprised by Kurama in this fight. So once again, another opponent that only has 3 healers, right? Iris, Liana, and Tieris. Yes, technically Rachel is another healer, but not really because she has to attack to heal, right? And it's fairly easy to actually stay out of Rachel's range. So, once again, I focus on banning healers initially because of that. So the enemy bans my juggler, plays Langius to start. So I get to ban both of the remaining healers, and I play my own Langius. So here now, my opponent bans Zerda and Listel. I lost Juggler, Zerda, Listel so far. And the enemy has lost 3 healers, so now I start banning, combat characters of the enemy. So I start, and surprisingly, the opponent plays Rachel. I guess because Rachel is the only healer that he kind of has, semi-healer. So I start with banning Zerda and Listel now, and play Bozel. My opponent bans my Omega and Liana, and plays Kurama, which really surprised me. This Kurama choice also explains why my juggler was banned early, because I guess he wanted to remove the Great Dragon barrier effect. So I get rid of Sumere and Joshua, right? Heal reversal and a faction buff for Kurama, and play Elwyn. Right? Enemy bans my Shafaniel and Yulia, playing juggler now. I didn't really get that one, but I guess he wanted to run double tank to protect Kurama. So I get to I ban Hiei and Bozel, right? Leaving him with Luna or Yusuke. And I play my Tierras. He should play Yusuke, if I remember correctly. Oh no, he chose to play Luna, because I guess Luna's Wind God realm, right? So my final choice was Iris or Leonhard, and of course I play Iris here. So 2 healers, Elwyn, Bozel, and Landius. Initial maneuvers of my opponent would be to, get his characters moving forward to attack me. And my goal is to hover back, of course, in this kind of situation. So he has 2 tanks, right? Kurama, Rachel, and Luna. A lot of damage dealers with the 2 tanks. So I'm just shifting. So I'm just kind of keeping my characters together, action buffing, the usual stuff. And I'm fully expecting him to attack while I play defense. Start off with the attack blessing on Elwyn, and follow it up with Iris. Providing a buff. So I'm just hanging back, completely hanging back, no interest in moving up at all. And just ending all my characters' turns. Now, as an aside, I really should have changed away from the cavalry here on Elwyn, so that was a mistake, right? Because this is swamp tiles. Infantry class characters can move through swamp without issue. So if I had changed my Elwyn to infantry, like mass mates and such, he can actually move to attack, this tile here or whatever. In any case though, that was being a bit nitpicky. I just kept the soldiers from the previous fight. That's why he still has Dragoons. So here I'm just continuing to hold very far back. Although I move Elwyn a little bit forward, 1 tile. Although he activated Breeze, I'm still outside of the range of all my opponents. So... And now, my opponent activates Kurama's transformation skill. So he's clearly about to attack me. And that's why he activates Wind God Realm on Luna. So in preparation, I respawn by activating Miracle to reduce the damage I'll take. And this is the surprise to me. Okay, first he activated the Rosethorn Whip skill, right? And this Kurama has clocks, so he got clocks to activate, which meant next turn he can use the Rose Whip Jesus, Rose Whip Thorn Wheel skill once again. So the effect of Rose Whip Thorn Wheel is that all enemies within 5 surrounding blocks. Okay, when all enemies within 5 surrounding blocks have taken action, they take fixed damage equals to 2 times Kurama's int. So in other words, where Elwyn and Bozo are currently located, they're going to take 2 times Kurama's int in damage after they act. So, and I actually have no choice but to take that hit because my guard skill on Landius is currently down, I think. So there's the damage, right? End turn, damage. And so I mass heal to bring them back up. But what gets really brutal now is he gets to activate Rose Thorn, the skill once again, okay? So now he activated Rose Whip Thorn Wheel once more, and as a result, there are 2 of these effects. Meaning I'm not taking just 1 hit of fixed damage, I'm taking 2 hits of fixed damage now from Kurama. Absolutely crazy if Clocks activates. Okay? Because that's 4 times int in damage, right? So that's like 5,500 damage. That knocks these guys down to half health, if not a bit over that. So I'm trying to do what I can, right? Just trying to hover outside of Kurama's range as well. And here I have my Iris use the mass resist so that Bozo has maximum int for the for this turn, because I need to use Bozo to attack. Right? No choice. And the skill I use here. Oh, I actually didn't attack. I actually took the fixed damage hit. Instantly. Interesting. So you can see, look at that. 6,000 hit points, 6,500. The fixed damage is demolishing me. But it makes me very glad that I brought 2 healers, because I was still able to tank it. And now I get hit by Rachel with Arcane Blast now. So no choice but to commit. I send Bozo on a suicide mission to put Kurama to sleep. And because of sleep, removing 3 buffs from the enemy, I was able to remove at least 1 of those Rose Whip Thorn Wheel effects. So he just attacks and finishes off my Bozo, which is fine because I start healing up my characters to get them ready to attack. So, faction buff with Landius, right? Elwyn is about to charge forward to strike, and the thing here is Juggler actually has no guard skills active. So neither Triton or Great Dragon Barrier is up, he only has his faction buff. So this was the opportunity, and that's why I did mass heal on Elwyn just now. And to further enhance Elwyn for the attack, I attack blessing him, and at this point I have him use Frontal Assault, and I strike Landius and one-shot him. So, the one thing I should also mention there is, let's just go back a few steps. So Elwyn with attack blessing, with his faction buff, using Frontal Assault was able to one-shot this Landius with the Dragoon soldiers anyways. So that was a 964 defense Landius, but he could not tank this hit from Elwyn. And I think part of that was likely Elwyn. Let me just play that through one more time. The fixed damage shouldn't have been enough. I'm actually kind of impressed that Elwyn was able to one-shot there, honestly speaking. Not complaining at all. So Enemy Elwyn falls. Rachel charges forward. One-shots my Landius but kills herself. So I get the opportunity to heal up my Landius. So Landius keeping me completely in this battle right now. And now I have Elwyn use Sword Soul on the Juggler who had no guard skills up and finish him off too. Landius now dies to Kurama. So I just teleport Elwyn slightly out of the way. And my opponent activates Wind God Realm and guards and attacks my Iris, right? But can't kill her because she's already damaged. So for now, I try to continue to protect my Elwyn, keep him alive, right? And set up in a way that he's safe, or relatively safe. The problem was, I only realized this afterwards, but I put him outside of attack range of the enemy Kurama. Nonetheless, both of these enemies don't have soldiers, or not many soldiers left. So it worked out fine for me. Luna still doesn't die because of that. So I have Elwyn choose the faction buff up instead. And I mass heal to heal up my characters as much as possible. So at the very least, Elwyn's still at full hit points. He dies. For whatever reason, he moves Luna around, so my Elwyn gets to attack the enemy Kurama. And then Iris gets to weaken Luna down a bit. So it took a while for me to come out on top at the very end, but it works out. So this battle just now, a major contribution from Bozel with his sleep skill, right? Without that, I probably would have absolutely lost to Kurama's fixed damage, to my characters. So that's why that was very interesting. I learned a bit more about Kurama that I didn't know. Kurama runs clocks, first of all, but I was also still able to tank the hit and survive it, and then eventually counterattack. In large part because I ran double healer in this situation. Alright, so one last battle to go over, which will be the battle against S2. So here we go. So this particular fight, the enemy has a meta box, as usual, and actually a very powerful meta box. There's Virash, there is Mystery Knight, right? Omega, Zerida. It's the only one that I'm surprised is still in this party, to be honest, is Joshua. Once again, another player running 3 healers. So once again, I'm banning healers. Right? Enemy bans my Landius to start, I ban a healer to start. I now play Zerida. So I choose to ban the remaining 2 healers and play my Juggler. So I now lose 2 of my healers, and the enemy plays Claret. So I ban Omega and Listel now, and play Liana. I had the choice between Liana and Tiaris, I chose Liana. So the enemy now bans my Zerida and Luna, playing Virash. So I ban the remaining 2 tanks of my opponent, and play my Listel. If he doesn't want to play a tank, I'm happy to ban them, especially when Zerida is in play. So now he bans my Bozel and Tiaris. And I just ban Joshua and Bozel after he picked Luna. And then I play Elwyn. Elwyn has been pretty much a cornerstone to most of these fights. Yulia and Shafiniel have now been banned. Enemy plays Yulia. And I play Leonhard. Right? I had a choice between an Omega who has no faction buff, or Leonhard who could potentially get buffed by Juggler. So I chose Leonhard. Actually, as a side note, Leonhard is probably the character that I'm going to remove from my party soon, because he just doesn't fit in very well for me anymore. AoE damage is not enough to kill enemies, and as a melee attacker in infantry class, he's useless against Landius. So I do have a replacement lined up, and that'll probably happen next week. So for this battle, yeah, I ran Triton, Master of Ice, and Mark of the Sacred Beast. I was thinking that I need to guard against all these physical attacks, right? So that's why I ran both Master of Ice and Triton. Both of them can change the terrain that he's on to water, which means Lobster Behemoths take 50% damage. So other than that, Elwyn continued to run Dragoons. Listel is here with Blood Dance, Reaper's Touch, and Demon God Bulwark. The reason for Demon God Bulwark actually is because I thought I might need it to tank the magic hit from Yulia. So that was my split in jobs, if you will. Listel will fight against Yulia, and Juggler will tank the physical strikes. Leonhard is here to do damage, Elwyn is here to counterattack and kill things. Both of these guys, yeah, are meant to kill things, and then Liana is here to act again, prayer, and gospel. So that was my battle strategy. I don't think it actually played out the way I wanted it to, though. So initially, I know he has the mobility advantage, so I just kind of shift and faction buff. Just hanging back initially. The only reason I won this, from what I remember, is because S2 made a bunch of mistakes. Like, this was not a win I should have gotten. So, first, S2 activates Wind God Realm. I think what he was thinking here was that Claret would get 2 more mobility to attack me. Right? Unfortunately, Claret is a flyer, and Wind God Realm does not affect flyers. So Claret does not get to attack me on turn 1. So that was his first major mistake. Meanwhile, since he can't attack me, I just Triton up. Zerda comes charging in and one-shots my Leonhard, just like that. So I try to maneuver forward to take him down. Right? And this is another situation where I really should have had Elwyn bring mass maids or another soldier other than dragoons. I just forgot to change them after that one battle. So in any case though, so here I move up, act again, Elwyn, and I totally didn't realize this, but Virash moves up, Tidal Surge, and then blocks me from attacking Zerda. So I have no choice but to have Elwyn attack Virash, taking him out. Although he gets that immortality thing to live, right? So he is still around for 2 more turns. I think this is a 5-star Virash, since it only lasts 2 turns. I could be wrong though. Regardless, Virash will be alive for 2 more turns to attack me and whatnot. Claret shifts up, and I move Listel to kind of guard, to basically guard. Zerdak tries to one-shot my Elwyn, but this was exactly why I activated Frontal Assault. Because it added 20% of Elwyn's attack to his defense, raising it up to 1061, and Zerda was not able to one-shot this Elwyn as a result. So this was his second mistake. So here, I just Master of Ice, because I wanted to break the break Zerda's last rites. That was probably a mistake though, but regardless, I now have my Elwyn, Sword Soul, Zerda to heal up to full. Right. It does expose my Elwyn, so Elwyn gets attacked by Clarets. And with 2 attacks. Elwyn falls. So 3v4. Now here, I apply Reaper's Touch on Yulia, because I felt that Listel should not be killable in one hit at this point. Yeah. Probably should have done it at 4 range, like from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that, you know, Juggler could have guarded Listel next turn, but regardless, I did that, and he actually chose to Godly Menace attack, which, because of the Reaper's Touch, or almost killed off this Yulia. And then I have my Listel attack Yulia and finish her off. So then Luna charges forward. I have Liana attack, and Juggler attack Clarence. Virash gets to attack my Liana, but Shrine Maidens keeps her alive, and Virash dies because of the turn limit. And then with that, because I get to act first, I was able to move Juggler up and have him use his guard skill to protect Liana. And at this point, S2 ran away. So, as I said, I should have never won that battle. S2 made 3 major mistakes in the fights, and because of those 3 mistakes, I was able to come out on top. Right? Definitely saved me. So, those were the 3 interesting battles I wanted to go over. I have a bunch more battles, of course, since then, right? But as I mentioned, I'm going to probably skip those 6 losses, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Although I may review them to see if any of these are interesting. For example, the Rainforest one and the interesting one I might go over in a separate video. But I'll do that video another time. Yeah. As I said, I did a bunch of battles. I'll have to go over them to see if there's any interesting ones to go over. So, there we have it. A lot of interesting aspects to Apex Arena now. It's gotten much more complex than before, and you really have to know your stuff. You know. Even today, I lost a match against... earlier today, I actually lost a match to Narm of all characters. So that's another battle to go over. I think it was this one. Lost to Yulia and Narm. So I'll have another video about interesting battles coming up, of course, but that's it for this one. Wow, this was actually 47 minutes. So thanks for watching, and on that note, Nitro out.